Peace, family. It's your brother, Marc Lamont Hill. Welcome to Night School. Every night here on the Marc Lamont Hill official YouTube channel, we hold Night School, where I break down the most controversial issues, the most pressing topics, the most complicated debates going on in the world today. And tonight is no exception. Some of y'all know, if you were here last night, that I am out here sick, in the world, not feeling great, fighting, battling, a little bit of COVID, but I feel much better than I did yesterday, and certainly much better than I did 2 days ago. So I want to thank everybody for their I'm out of breath. Sorry, for their home remedies, their self-help advice, and all the other things that they gave me in order to be okay. I took some of it I didn't. But I got a plenty of sleep, so that helped, and that went a long way. Well, tonight is a big show. I am excited to be here with you all. We're talking about a few things. I think the biggest thing that people have been talking about the last week or so has been Sean Combs, Diddy, Puff Daddy. There's been a lot of conversation about his criminal charges. There's been a lot of conversation about his behavior, his practices. There's been tons of stories about him. Those stories are directly connected to the indictment. Some are not directly connected to the indictment. But in both cases, people have been talking. And tonight, we're going to be joined by Chris Todd. If you're not familiar with Chris Todd, you may know him by one of his nom de plumes, one of his pen names. He penned this book, or he helped release this book, I should say, Kim's Lost Words, A Journey for Justice from the Other Side, which is alleged to be the secret writings, the unpublished, unreleased memoir from Kim Porter, who, of course, was Diddy's ex and the mother of a few of his children. And so we're going to talk to Chris Todd tonight in just a few minutes, in fact, about the book, about the stories that he heard, and about and help us make sense of all of this, because I have a lot of questions. But before we get to that, there's some other issues going on in the world, of course, that we want to talk about. And so we'll get to him in just a few minutes. But before we do that, I want to just talk about Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. This is the worst duo ever in so many ways. Donald Trump and J.D. Vance have spent their entire time together really putting out fires. Most of the fires actually caused by J.D. Vance. Also running the country, backing each other up on the most racist, xenophobic, misogynistic, homophobic ideas and claims that you could ever imagine. These two are like just a two-person wrecking crew. And one of the more disappointing moments, one of the more frustrating moments for a lot of people came when J.D. Vance and Donald Trump started advancing these stories about Haitians in Springfield, Ohio. Well, Donald Trump and J.D. Vance are now facing criminal charges for pushing fake and racist stories about Haitian migrants in Ohio, stealing and eating pets in the city of Springfield. Leaders of the Haitian Bridge Alliance nonprofit filed 6 charges today using a state law that allows private citizens to file criminal charges. And despite being told by city officials that the rumors were false prior to the presidential debate, Donald Trump went on the debate stage and continued to spread those lies. And it caused not just sort of these abstract troubles, these, narrative troubles or discursive trouble. It wasn't like, oh, we just think about Haitians in the wrong way. People were getting bomb threats at schools. Public buildings were being threatened for attack. Individual and communities of Haitians, their safety was threatened as well. It was compromised. And mind you, not that it should matter, but most of these people were here legally. So the people who were claiming that these illegal Haitians are taking over the country wasn't even true. But let's be clear, even if they were here illegally, what the hell does that mean in the midst of a settler colony? What does that mean in the midst of a slaveholding state to be illegal? Who are these white men to tell the world who's not allowed in land that they stole? But all that said, there's been a lot going on, and I'm happy to have some evidence, in case the prosecutor's watching Night School, uh, to help make sense of what's going on here. Because Donald Trump is always saying, we're not causing hate. Oh, we're not creating danger. We're not doing anything wrong here. We're just trying to warn the people. Let's be clear. Again, these people aren't here illegally. Not that it should matter. And honestly, they have revitalized the economy in Springfield. So you should be applauding these Haitians, not booing them. But that's not how white supremacy operates. So anyway, Donald Trump's in a rally now, not even in Ohio, but in Indiana, Pennsylvania. And once again, Donald Trump starts the very thing that he says he doesn't do. He's bashing the migrant community. He's fear-mongering. And what makes it so frustrating is that his supporters eat it up like cake. He told the crowd that small town America will never be safe again. He said to his, and with no, like, he's not even pretending here anymore. He didn't even pretend anymore. He says it's time to get them out. Listen to Donald Trump.
With left-wing nonprofits to inundate Pennsylvania communities, changing the character of small towns and villages all over our country and changing them forever. They will never be the same. They will never be. Do you think Springfield will ever be the same? I don't think. The fact is, and I'll say it now, you have to get them the hell out. You have to get them out. I'm sorry. To get them out. Can't have it. Can't have it. They've destroyed it. It's terrible. It's terrible to say, and it's a tough deal with left-wing nonprofits.
It's terrible to say? Of course it's terrible to say. By terrible, you mean racist, Donald Trump. But Donald Trump doesn't care about being terrible. He doesn't care about being racist. He does what works. And this absolutely works for his audience, for his base. I don't know if it's enough of a base to win him an election again, but it's certainly enough to make it interesting. And again, yet another reminder that Donald Trump is not just stoking fear. This fear has a material impact on Haitian Americans and other immigrant populations and other migrant populations and other documented and undocumented communities around the country. His words make people's lives less safe. That's not something you want to say about anybody, but it's damn sure not something you want to say about the next president of the United States or any president of the United States. So you should think about that as you make your voting decisions. Family, we got one more story, and then I'm very, very excited. And I know a lot of y'all are very, very excited to get to Chris Todd. I am excited to get to Chris Todd. This is a major deal to have him on the show. And so we are going to get to him in just a moment, and as well as talking about Marcellus Williams, which I'm heartbroken about, and we'll get to that at the end of the show. But before we get to Chris, there's one more story that I want to talk to you all about, and it's another frustrating one as we move to the Middle East. Alan Dershowitz went on the Piers Morgan show to justify, as he always does, that's sort of his jam, to justify the atrocities committed by Israel against Palestinians in Gaza, the West Bank, and as well as Arabs in Lebanon, Lebanese folk in Lebanon, past and present. The good thing was, and this is my favorite part, he got his ass handed to him. He got dragged. You know, I love debating Alan Dershowitz for lots of reasons, but I get really excited when other people debate the Dersh and defeat him. I especially get excited when Arabs debate him. I get excited when women debate him. I get excited when all the people who get marginalized in media come out and absolutely mollywop the traditional usual suspects in media. So it's pretty dope to see. So this time, the person who chin checked Alan Dershowitz rhetorically was Rania Khalek. And if you don't know Rania Khalek, you should. She is a professor. She is brilliant. She is amazing in all the ways and all the reasons. And she jumped on. And look at Alan Dershowitz. Look at his face on the right. He's already mad. She just started talking, and he's already sick. He's like, "Oh God, I gotta hear this." Man, these are two. Everybody actually looks really disgruntled to see her talk. It's actually quite funny. But anyway, she stepped in and gave Professor Dershowitz a quick history lesson on Hamas and on Hezbollah. You got to see this. Check this out. Ooh.
Let's talk about where Hezbollah comes from. Hezbollah emerged, it's Lebanese people who emerged in the mid-1980s because Israel viciously invaded and occupied Lebanon. I mean, that invasion and occupation was so horrific. Ronald Reagan called up the Israeli Prime Minister Menachem Begin at the time, right, and told him to stop carrying out what Ronald Reagan referred to as a Holocaust on Beirut. That is how vicious the Israeli invasion and occupation was. And under those conditions emerged a group of Lebanese people who picked up arms to defend their homes and land from occupation. And that's how you get Hezbollah. And they kicked the Israelis out in 2000. And since then, they have been seen by many Lebanese. You don't have to agree with it. I'm telling you the reality of the situation. I live in Lebanon. I know. Since then, they have been seen by many Lebanese as a force of protection against further Israeli invasions of Lebanon. And I'll also remind you, Hezbollah has never invaded Israel. Israel has repeatedly invaded Lebanon. The same goes for Hamas, by the way. Where did Hamas come from? They haven't sent rockets. Hamas is a group of Palestinians who picked up arms to defend their people against Israeli aggression. So if you want the aggression against Israel to stop, if you can even call it aggression, if you want that to stop, Israel needs to stop invading, occupying, and massacring its neighbors. People in your neighborhood are not going to like you if you continue to kill their families and steal their homes and land.
Bars. Woo! Rania, she ate that. It was pretty amazing to watch that. Again, the Dersh is always going to interrupt. She's always going to try and shut you down. That's actually the most quiet I've seen him be as someone else is talking, believe it or not. But she broke down why these organizations emerged. She broke down why they engage in the actions that they engage in. She framed it rightfully as resistance. This isn't just aggression or violence. You know, it's certainly not terrorism. She's saying these groups emerged for a reason in response to something. That breakdown is so important. But anyway, human rights groups sent a letter to Israel's Attorney General demanding a criminal investigation into the country's far-right Channel 14. They say the channel has become a lobbying machine for the systemic and widespread incitement of wars and war crimes, against Palestinians. The group compiled a list in which they found 50 calls for genocide in Gaza, as well as more than 150 statements calling for indiscriminate killing, mass expulsion, and starvation against Palestinians. This is mind-boggling, considering that Al Jazeera just got raided in Jerusalem, and it's been raided in Ramallah before that. Like this idea that the Arabs, the Palestinians, the Lebanese, the Qataris, they have these crazy news stations. No, it's the far right Israeli news stations that are calling for violence. Here's some examples that they included. On October 14th, one of the hosts of this station said, "There are no real innocents. In 1948, they brought the Nakba on themselves. Now they'll have a second Nakba. But for real, to finish the job for David Ben Gurion." The next day, they aired a message from Israeli singer Eyal Golan, who urged that Gaza should be totally wiped out. Not one person should be left. They're literally calling for a complete genocide. On the 19th, another host claimed the enemy is not Hamas, it's Gaza. They're not even going by the normal liberal Zionist talking point, right? The enemy is not Fatah, it's the Arabs of Judea and Samaria, i.e. the West Bank and East Jerusalem. When you say population, there is no population. In Gaza, there are 2.5 million terrorists. This is the language that this station is using. Somehow they're not getting shut down. Now it's free speech. As comments like that are being broadcast, a 12-year-old Israeli girl was suspended from school. Have y'all heard this story? This is, again, another absolute ridiculous story. And I want you to at least see the video here. I'm going to post it up. And for good reason. 12-year-old Arab Israeli girl was suspended from school for sympathizing with children in Gaza. During a class discussion, the young girl noted that children in Gaza were dying of hunger. I don't know, a fact. Her classmates responded by telling her that her village should burn. The teacher did not step in. After class, the fellow students allegedly attacked her and yelled things like, "Our soldiers aren't murderers." They accused her of supporting Palestine and Hamas. It's heartbreaking to me where this is, but also the reality. Now, again, they're attacking this young girl. There's again, they're using the us versus them narrative. Yet, if you talk to any Palestinian, some of you saying you had some audio challenges. I'll just repeat what I said. What I said is a 12-year-old Arab Israeli girl was suspended from school for sympathizing with children in Gaza. During a class discussion, the young girl noted that children in Gaza were suffering and dying of hunger. Telling the truth. Her classmates responded by telling her that her village should burn. The teacher didn't step in. After class, her fellow students allegedly attacked her and yelled things like, "Our soldiers aren't murderers," and accused her of supporting Palestine and Hamas. Videos were posted on social media. What's fascinating about this is if you talk about Arab Israelis, if you talk about Palestinians in Israel, they'll say, "Oh, they're citizens just like us. They get all the same rights. We have Arabs in the Knesset. We have Arabs in the Supreme Court, blah, blah, blah." But now, as soon as the rubber hits the road, now it's us versus them. Now it's our soldiers. Well, if these Palestinians are really Israelis, then their soldiers are your soldiers. But we know that's not true. It's never been true. But more fundamentally, the school told her parents suspension. The girl got suspended, and they told her it was for her own protection. Education ministry officials, though, said she was inciting against the army. So first they say, "Well, we're suspending you just to keep you safe." Who suspends someone for keeping them safe? Just to keep them safe. And then second, the Ministry of Education says that this 12-year-old girl caused incitement against the army. Do you know how ridiculous that is? But that is what happens inside of Israel. It's what happens in the West Bank. It's what happens in Gaza. And that's why we have to stay on top of this. Anyway, y'all, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we got Chris Todd here. He will be talking to us about this amazing, interesting moment that we're in that is deeply painful and depressing and sad and scary. And most specifically, he'll be talking about the book that has got everybody talking right now. It is the #1 book on Amazon, and it is allegedly Kim Porter's memoir. We'll be back in 42 seconds with Chris Todd. Stay right here. Peace, family. Welcome back to Night School. This is your brother, Marc Lamont Hill. The last week has been nothing but Diddy all day and all night in the news, talking about his indictment, talking about his arrest, talking about all of the allegations of sex trafficking. But we haven't just been focusing on the indictment. There's been conversation about his history, conversations about his romantic affairs, conversations about his sex life, conversations about his parties, and conversation about many of his exes. And one of those exes, of course, is Kim Porter. Kim Porter is the mother of 3 of his children. Kim Porter is the woman who tragically passed away. And Kim Porter is a woman that many people have argued had a story to tell, and in fact started to write that story before she died. Well, this summer, I believe in July, a book came out. We ain't gonna do no fancy graphic because I'm one of the people that bought it and read it. It was called Kim's Last Words, A Journey for Justice from the Other Side. And I read it because I wanted to understand what was being claimed in the book. Apparently, a lot of other people did. It's the #1 book on Amazon since Diddy's arrest. It has been the biggest most widely read book in America, but there are a lot of questions here. And who better to answer those questions than Chris Todd, who is the investigative journalist, pop culture expert, and he is the man behind the memoir. Chris, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, Mark, how are you?
I am good, man. I really, really appreciate you accepting the invite to come reach out.
Can I correct you on something real quick?
Please.
Yeah. So the book just came out 2 weeks ago, not July, but and also because I think you said July.
Yeah, you know what? You're right. I heard it was coming out in July. You're right. It didn't release until 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's all good. Right. Yeah. So we just came out 2 weeks ago, and then it's Kim's Lost Words, not Last Words. Just so.
I'm sorry. Did I?
It's a play.
Blame it on my COVID, man. Blame it on my COVID.
Yeah, I'll blame it on your COVID. It's all good. It's a play on Kim's Last Words, obviously, but I call it Kim's Lost Words because this is a multi-year period that this flash drive and memoir has been hidden.
So, well, that's a great place to start. How did you get access to this? Tell us the story of how you allegedly got access to this book.
Sure. This memoir and book is coming off of a flash drive. Okay, so also on this flash drive, I have to be careful what I say about this, but let's just say there are potentially sex tapes on this flash drive. I was fortunate enough to be approached by someone that I had known in the kind of true crime space, and they asked if I'd be interested in helping a celebrity. And there were a couple people involved with this celebrity, and I call them the two sources is how I reference them. And the two sources brought to me purportedly, remember in the beginning, I didn't know if it was real. So it's been a long journey. This has been going on for a few months. And the diary or memoir, really, Kim was writing a book. It's not really a diary. There's dialogue. It's like a novel. It's only 59 pages is what it finished out to be based on formatting and stuff. But I probably received it around 45 pages, but it was condensed. So as you spread it out into a 6x9, it became 59 pages. And I released the book. It published on September 6th. And I took a leap of faith because I didn't know that Sean Combs was going to be arrested. So I need to clear up a couple things today, and I'm honored to be here with you.
So I'm glad. So let's back up just for one of the things you said. You said this comes from a flash drive. So can you unpack that? Can you say a little bit more about how you got this flash drive? So who brings you a flash drive?
Two people.
Two separate, to be clear, two separate people bring you a flash drive, or do two people come to you with a single flash drive?
They gave me pieces of it at first. I wasn't allowed to actually possess the flash drive.
What I'm saying is, are these actually two separate sources, or did two people approach you and say, hey, we got a flash drive for you?
Two people are working in concert with each other.
Okay, so really it's one source. And that doesn't make it right or wrong. I'm just trying to understand.
I really don't say it's one source, and it's hard to explain. It's two people.
Okay. And these two people come to you with a flash drive. What kind of authentication did they give you that this was real? Why did you feel confident that this was not something they made up?
So yeah, and if I could have a little time to explain that, I'd appreciate it.
Break it down, yeah.
Cool. Yeah, because I work a lot of famous and civilian cases. I've solved murders. I solved the greatest murder case in history. I revealed O.J. Simpson's murder accomplice. I worked Natalie Wood's case. I worked Aaron Hernandez, Emmett Till. I have 3 civilian cases I work currently. One of my books is behind me here. I caused a lot of waves on that. Our trial's coming up here in a month. It's going to be the biggest child murder story in the country. So I've I'm familiar with working with whistleblowers, sources, killers, accomplices, kidnappers. The people I work with are unsavory. Not all of them obviously are, because I have to work with family members and lawyers and DAs and regular people. So what I'm trying to paint a picture is these people knew who I was, okay? They knew what I did. So obviously, I don't believe everything someone says, even if they're a whistleblower or a source. I don't just take their word for everything.
Of course not.
So,
Right.
So over a multi-month period, I put them through the test. And if you
When
watch
did
my
this?
other
When
interview,
did what is this period? When did the period start?
this I've been, when I officially received, okay, I'll say it this way. The first time I found out that this was out there was about 6 months ago.
Okay.
When I officially began like meeting them officially, because I kind of, there's a lot of people involved.
So the two people reach out to you in around March-ish and say, hey, we got something you need to see on a flash drive.
They come, really, it's probably been more amped up the last 2 months. That's
Okay.
the real, because at first they wouldn't tell me who the sources were. So I was dealing with somebody else, like they're saying this, almost like hearsay, right? They say this, if you'll do this, they'll give you this. If you do this, they'll give you the tapes.
What were they asking you to do?
They're testing me.
Okay. Well, let me ask them a more specific question. Did you pay for it?
No comment.
No comment. All right. I'll allow the audience to make whatever interpretation they want about that, about what that means when someone says no comment to did you pay for the source. Continue. So after you did whatever they asked you to do in order to satisfy their conditions for seeing the stuff, you then got to see the stuff around July.
It's yeah, sorry about that.
No, you're good.
No worries. It's like a test. When you have a whistleblower coming forward, it's a dangerous situation. If we talk about Diddy, right, and we talk about poisonings, was Kim poisoned? What happened to Jamie Foxx? What happened to Albie Shore? These things are swirling around. What happened to Chris Lighty? What happened to Shakir Stewart? What happened to Heavy D? They would tell me these stories. And I'm like, look, I'm not saying he's a serial killer. I was just listening.
But then one could think that from this book.
What's that?
I said from this book, one could draw.
Oh yeah.
I mean, and let me be clear, because I don't want anyone to think I'm defending Diddy in this. Diddy is, to me, if every page in this book is true, or if nothing in this book is true, I know enough and have seen enough and have heard enough to know that Diddy is a monster.
Exactly.
Right. So, but from this book, I mean, there's some pretty heavy allegations here.
Well, and also, when I first read it, I was only shown pages at first. I never saw the whole manuscript. Okay?
Well, I think that's where the July thing came up for me, because in July I started to see pages on the internet. I assumed
because I was leaking.
Okay, so that's why initially I said that people were talking about it in July. I thought it was actually out, but I realized now you're mentioning it.
Yeah, and I don't and look, I don't know. When I approach people with the media, I have a long history with the media. Yeah, I have other private investigators that work for me. Sometimes they do things undercover, and they leak things to people to see. I've got a lot of people that work with me. Okay, it's not just me. I couldn't do this by myself. It's a monster. It's a 800-pound gorilla. I can't kill it by myself. Okay. So what I'm saying is, if you heard a rumor in July, it might have come from us. Okay.
I think it was. I mean, some of the stuff I saw in July is in this book. So either someone else, was sold the book or had a chance. It's
probably us. Now that I'm thinking, it's most likely us.
So talk to me about, and then we'll get to some of the specifics in here. But how did you fact check it? Like, they come to you with all these claims. For example, I'll give you a concrete claim. There's a claim here in chapter. The chapters are very short, so there's a chapter here that says that that Diddy and Albie Shore. I'll use the Albie Shore one because he has responded to. What I don't want to do is drag more people into the mud.
Let's not talk too much about Albie Shore, because he's threatening to sue me and file a case with the Department of Justice. And if he rubs me the wrong way, I'll take care of this whole thing legally quickly. So
the reason why I'm mentioning I'll be sure is, again, like there are people here who are named to have done things that I haven't seen any proof for, and I don't want to spread a rumor about something that's not true.
With Al B. Sure,
he's publicly said this, but in the book you say that Al B. Sure and Diddy engaged in a threesome with Kim, and that they had been lovers before. All of them in different matchups and components.
Well, if you really look at the book, it doesn't necessarily say that. And because in the book I X'd out, I X'd out. If you look at the pages, there's a bunch of X's. It doesn't say what happened.
Let me read it so that the audience can at least get the context. And this is the only thing I'll read.
That's up to you, my man.
Yeah, and this is the only thing I'll read from the book. But I want people to have context just so that people don't think that I'm misspeaking. So they're sitting in a room. This is I'll be sure and Diddy.
I don't want you to use the G word that they say. I don't want you to say that word on the air.
The G word, okay.
The G word that refers to a man.
I won't do that.
I don't want you to say
I won't do that. I don't think it's even necessary for where I'm going. So they were all sitting around and said Al was loose after a couple of drinks. I remember him saying, "It's still weird seeing you with my friend, but you're happy. So I'm happy for you guys. Thanks, man." And Sean says, "Me and you, we've shared so much." Al replied coolly, "Word." The conversation took an odd and awkward turn when Sean said, "We all been together sexually, but not together." And then Kim says, "I was shocked for a minute as quietness lingered in the room. I asked, what do you mean by all together?" Al shifted uncomfortably, but Sean didn't hesitate. "You know how we sometimes invite other people into our bed?" I couldn't believe it. "Oh, hell no, Sean." So just from that moment, I think Al B. Sure's issue is first the claim that this whole conversation happened. Second, the claim that he and Diddy had sex, and then of course your point is by the end of the scene that you paint or that she paints allegedly in this chapter, some stuff happens between them. She doesn't like what happened. She runs out of the room, and they keep doing whatever the thing is that she doesn't like. Right? There's a clear and strong sexual implication there. But at the very least, the book unequivocally states they've already previously had sex. I'll be sure is suing you for that.
I don't know if he's not suing us. He's threatening to sue me.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Fair enough.
But I'm saying is, and even to me, it doesn't. I know what you're saying. Like it quickly says, "Well, we've all been together before." I don't know if that's true. I don't know what Kim is doing there. I don't know what she's trying to say. She's obviously saying, "I'm focused on what she's seeing." Okay. If I remove those X's, right, that would have been a problem. But I did you a favor, I'll be sure, and I did you a solid. They didn't want me to. I made the decision to X that out. Okay.
But my point is, if you also made a decision, if we believe that this is Kim's book, then and we believe that Kim is a truth teller, then we also believe that they've already had sex.
Okay, but let me say this real quick too. Let's also talk about what a writer is. Okay, what a novelist is. I think Kim did a great job with this.
Why do you believe this is Kim? I don't want
to go like way off. Like let's
no. I was using that as an example to ask the question of how did we vet.
I'm trying to address. I know, but I want to address this real quick. Just real quick.
Sure.
Writers sometimes can do roman à clef. They can use fiction and nonfiction, reality, and they can blur the line. Okay? She has every right to do that. Can I unequivocally say they did that in front of her? No. I didn't write the book. It's not me saying it. It's a woman, It's an abused woman from the grave. Let's remember that. So if she's saying that, and she has every right to take liberties and to tell a story, and if that's the story she wanted to tell, I was shocked too, trust me. He's the father of Quincy. She was married to him first. It's strange. But the thing is, this whole Diddy thing is strange. Nothing is shocking me anymore. So when I first read some of this stuff, I was sort of turned off. I was the audience too. Like, that's how I say that. So this is
Right.
a long like process, but thank you for giving me that quick.
No. So again, so using that example, how did you determine that this was true? Not. I get what you're saying about she could have been using license, but my point is, someone came to you with a hard drive saying that Kim wrote it, something we don't know for sure, and
Correct.
they gave you a story that could or could not have happened. We don't know for sure. But as a journalist, you made decisions about whether you trusted it or not. Why do you trust that story enough to publish it?
Sure. First of all, I'm an investigator. That's really what I am. I say I'm
Right.
an investigative journalist. I'm an investigative producer, journalist, and author.
Yes.
I am. I was also an actor and a director and a writer. I was. Okay. So there's many things. I'm not one thing. But when I do something like this, I'm an investigator. Do you think I really would just trust them? Whatever they said is true? Absolutely
I hope not. That's the question.
Absolutely not.
So how did you investigate it? What'd you do?
I'm getting at that. Okay. It's the same process on all these books you see behind me. And I have a lot more cases than that. I have over 30. It's the same process. If you watch my interviews and you listen how I talk about how I investigate someone or something, I'm all over you. I don't believe you at first. And if I see any red flags, I'm out. I never saw any red flags.
Is somebody asking for money for a story from a dead person who never put out a story a red flag?
If who's asking is
if somebody comes to you and says, "Hey, there's a famous person who died, and I have a secret memoir with no authentication of it. I'll pay you. I'll sell this to you." Is that not in and of itself not a red flag?
No, it's not.
Okay.
Because see, and also I'll say this too, because people know me in the Hollywood game, and I'm unorthodox and I'm controversial, and they know people deserve to get paid. The problem I have is in Hollywood, and people want things for free, and you write a script for free. I don't play any of that. And I don't play this story when the media goes, "We don't pay for stories." Yeah, you do. Do you pay your reporters? Do you pay your cameramen? You do. So when you go to like a whistleblower or a source, even if somebody came to me and goes, "I want to sell you this book," talk to me. Talk to me. If I'm gonna, what if I go sell the movie rights? Is it a product to me? Partially. Is it a business deal? Partially. So I have no problem. I'm not saying I did. I'm saying I have no problem if I had to pay somebody for what they have. Because think of it this way, Mark. If I don't, how do I get it? Why wouldn't they go to the next bidder in Hollywood? Hollywood pays for stories every day. They could have, these people from this could have ran to studios, but I know why they didn't. Because I know they were scared.
Okay.
They're afraid. They don't want their name on it. That's why they've got the random Caucasian guy, which is what they're calling me online. I know I'm being played by these sources. That's the game. I already know that, and I'm playing them.
Well, no, I actually don't think. Some people think you're being played. Some people think you're lying, and you're being disingenuous by the whole thing. But I don't want to get away from this question about. So how did you investigate the story?
That after.
Sure, but please, how did you just tell me? How did you investigate the story? You're an investigator first. How did you investigate a story like that one? How did you decide?
I mean, we don't have time for me to tell you the process of how I investigate something like this. Let's just say it this way. I lived it, breathed it, slept it, blood, sweat, and tears nonstop for as long as when I was.
Just give me a little hint. So with the Albie Shore story, you don't think, I know you can't go through everything. How give me the general bones of how you went about investigating that, because we got time.
What I would say is, like, with just Albie Shore's story.
Sure.
The first thing that I said to me, who the hell would make that up? That's the first thing in my gut feeling, because I go by feel. Some of my fans are in here today. They know me very well. I talk to all my fans every day. They know me personally. I like that when they know me. First question is, who would make that up? Who? Why would anybody make that up? That was the first thing.
Okay.
Then when I look at it, and I start to see a couple things about Albie Shore, I start seeing that it's possible, right? That he possibly is, I don't want to say the word, maybe he loves women and men, or I'm not going to put a label on somebody, but I saw some things that rang true to what the sources were telling me. So there's no red flags yet, right? Got a couple things. Then I do a little sniffing out again. I do more research on Albie Shore and Kim. I research about their son and what happens with Diddy and this adoption. And I start seeing things. I ask other people. And I do believe that this is true. Now, I'll say this. If it's not true, then that's Kim as a writer. I can't control that.
Right. So these stories that you got access to these stories in July, it sounds like.
I knew that this manuscript existed before July.
Right.
I said about 6 months ago.
But you read it in July.
I read the first pages about 6 months ago. I read the full thing probably in early July, end of June. I had this for a few months.
And it came out September 9th. So I guess my question, it just seems like you didn't have a long between June or July and it coming out in September is 2 months, and you had time to publish it, format it, read it. It doesn't seem like you had a lot of time to vet a whole book full of stuff.
Let me say this. When I did my OJ case, I was on it for 7 years.
That's a long time. Yeah.
It's too long. So I don't do that anymore. Like I'm doing Kurt Cobain. If you look here, Kurt's Army, and this is my new thing is Kurt Cobain. I'm not staying on these long anymore. I got burned on OJ. I won't do it. So what I do is it's going to be fast and furious, 6 months, 8 months. That's it.
Right. But some of this manuscript you didn't read. You only had a few weeks to read and investigate.
No. I mean, I read the whole thing in 1 hour. Obviously.
No, but I mean, right. So you got it in July and it came out September 9th. There's a process to get the book out.
Yeah.
So
I can do a lot in 30 days. I'll tell you, in 60 days, if I had July and all of August, you give me 60 days, that's plenty of time for me to do it.
So let me ask you a question. If I were to ask you right now, how sure are you that you didn't, or if I were to ask you tomorrow, how sure are you that you did an interview with Marc Lamont Hill? You'd say on a scale of 1 to 10, 10. If I said to you, how sure are you that you did not do an interview with Oprah yesterday? You'd say 10, right? You're sure of it, right? On a 1 to 10, how sure are you that Kim wrote these words?
Rolling Stone interviewed me yesterday, and there's another publication coming out. A major one I dealt with today. I gave this answer, so I'll give you my own unique answer for you, right? But it's already been published. I already addressed this, okay? So I use the phrase, like, if you put my feet to the fire, right? And God said to me, you better tell me the truth or else. Okay. And you're asking me a 1 to 10.
Yeah. On a 1 to 10, how sure? I think that gives us a good gauge. Like, you're sure you talked to me. If I said on a 1 to 10, how sure are you that the Bible is real? You may say 7, 8, 10, 1, depending on your faith. What would you say for this? On a 1 to 10, how sure are you that these are Kim's words?
9.
Wow. Did you vet any of this with Kim's family or friends?
I approached a couple people that were in the celebrity camps. I didn't necessarily go straight to Kim's family. People were purporting to be Kim's sister and cousin. I don't even know if they were real. Okay.
You're an investigator. You can find that out.
I know, but let me say this about families. I don't always work with the families on something like this. So I did not go to the family first. No.
Okay. But I'm not asking you to them first. Did you go to them at all?
Kim's mother is deceased. Kim's father, I did not go to. And then whether she has sisters or cousins, I did not approach them. No.
Okay. Just when you say I didn't go to them first, one would think that you went to them, just not first, but you didn't actually go to them.
No.
Okay. So you didn't go to the family. What friends did you go to?
I'm not going to name them.
Okay. But you did go to some friends. Okay. And they verified these stories?
Well, let's think of it this way too. Now, if Kim Porter did a flash drive, right? Do you think she really told anybody that she had tapes of Diddy copied onto the flash drive that could get her killed? Do you think she really would show other people? I do believe there's one person that she showed.
Did you talk to that one person?
Yes.
Okay. So, because here's the challenge. If you say,
but do you understand what I mean by why I wouldn't go to the family? Because then I'd be giving them all the leverage would be on them. This is not about her family. It's about her.
Right. But the problem is, if you're saying that she has a secret and she didn't share the secret with anybody,
except a couple people,
and then she died.
Yeah.
And then someone found this hard drive.
They don't find it. She gave it to them.
She gave it to them. Did she give it to them and say, put it out in the world? So you think if Kim wanted someone like you to have it?
Not someone like me. I think, look, okay, when Kim gives it, whether it's in the cloud or it's a flash drive or it's both, the book talks about that, a password to the cloud. She's talking about like, Sean, I've got it. I can go in the cloud, or I've got the discs, the tapes, the drives. There's many ways to keep this, right? It could be backed up in the cloud. There's a passcode that's given to this person, right? What I'm saying is obviously they sit on it for 5 to 6 years, right? Because they're most likely scared. So that those people close to Kim and Diddy didn't want to come forward, and definitely not come forward right away, because they would have. Why would they come? Why would I be here 6 years later? They had many opportunities to do that. Obviously, they didn't. I don't know why. Maybe somebody soured it. Maybe they got a threat from Diddy. Nobody was even investigating him then. He was like scot-free back then. Think about that. Now it's different. Now it's like, oh, this is Cassie's coming. And I will say this. I was told by one of these sources that the Cassie lawsuit and Little Rod and Diageo and all that was partly from this. That this was actually already starting to be talked about in their hip hop circles, in that kind of culture, if we call it that. They were already buzzing. That's why you see a lot of they were trying to destroy Sean Combs. Okay, because he was like suing the liquor company for discrimination. Cassie was like, I'm coming after you. Little Rod was coming. There were multiple lawsuits, and we know for a fact that some of that is involved with this book.
Did you speak to Lil Rod?
No, I did not.
Did you speak to Cassie?
No, I did not.
Did you speak to Diddy?
No, I did not.
Okay. I'm just asking for clarity's sake. I'm not saying you should or shouldn't.
I'm an open book.
I guess my other question about this is, so if you think that Kim wanted someone to have this information from a hard drive, but you said she didn't want someone like you to have it. If you know she didn't want someone like you to have it, why would you put it out?
I don't know what you mean by someone like you.
Well, I said, do you think she wanted it published? And you said, and someone like you said, no, not someone like me.
I'm saying not person. I don't know. I didn't know her.
Like, well, let me put it differently. Do you think she wanted it put out in a book like in this form?
Yes.
Not you personally.
Yes.
Okay. You think this is how she wanted the book to come out? If
you're dying, right, and you're coughing up blood, and you text your friends, he got me, and there's no doctor, and Diddy's telling her, oh, we're gonna get the doctor here, and there's no medication, and there's no doctors. Okay, she's panicking. So I do believe that part of this flash drive and or memoir manuscript was actually given to one of the sources in 2017 through my investigation. The final pieces, the last chapter of the book, because she's writing as she thinks she's dying, that part is given that week of the death. Then it's put together. Yes, most likely, let's be honest, by the sources, most likely they're arranging that, because I can tell by the font and stuff that it's similar. There's some stuff where there's some different font, okay? But those pages were not written by Kim Porter. One of the sources was trying to talk to the audience. I removed those. I only want the audience to hear Kim's voice.
Okay, and like again, on a scale of 1 to 10, you're on a 9 that this is Kim's voice, Kim's word, that it's authentic. Diddy has the ability, according to the book and according to other people, to blow up cars, to kill people, to literally to frame multiple murders of the most famous Black people in America. How did he not stop this book or get access to this hard drive?
He had many opportunities to do that.
Why didn't he? Why didn't he?
Why didn't he stop Cassie's lawsuit?
Well, lawsuit's different than a tell-all book from someone who's already dead.
Why didn't he stop Little Rod and Cassie? Why did he let them come forward? Why didn't he pay them off?
So all interesting questions, but what would your response be to the viewer right now who's a little incredulous, who raises that question? If Diddy's this powerful, how did he let this happen? Your answer is just he lets lots of stuff happen.
I'm going to answer your question. Why does Diddy let Gene Deal talk and Jaguar write? Because he didn't handle his business. I work with a lot of mafia guys, and I'm sorry to throw this out there. I've learned a lot of these things from my journey with some of these guys. Handle your business. They call it a sit down. The mob invented it. So if Diddy had Cassie, Little Rod, 8 other women, other guys, lawsuits coming down the pike, handle your business. If he knew Kim had the tapes. He knew that. Absolutely.
I just want to reiterate, when you say handle your business, you mean talking, because the implication that for some people would be like violence. So again,
not violence. Money, pay them off, catch and kill. I'm not talking about killing anyone. I'm saying a sit down in the mafia game is not murdering someone. A sit down is a negotiation. Break bread, talk. What Diddy did was his ego was so out of control, right, that he couldn't do it. He couldn't give Little Rod the money. He wouldn't give Cassie the money. Then he gives Cassie the money the next day because he got caught. See what I'm saying? And if he really handled his business, none of this stuff would have come out. Not none of it, maybe ever, but we all know these things, these civil lawsuits triggered these investigations because you can use those in criminal court. When you say something in a civil court, it can be used against you in a criminal court. He had to handle his business, but his ego got in the way. Hubris is all of our downfall, okay? His ego got him in the jail.
Do you know?
And I'm not sticking up. Look, let me say this too. I'm not sticking up for him because I know people are going to go crazy. This guy's talking about paying everybody off. It's not right what he did. I don't know what he did. I didn't witness any of it. What I'm saying is there were ways to appease these people, okay? He didn't kill Cassie, did he? Right? He didn't kill Little Rod, did he? Did he again? But I'm saying, and it's a weird situation, but that's just how life is. This is just how it works. They obviously wanted money. I had a lawyer one time tell my friend, "Oh, you're extorting them because you're asking for a catch and kill." It's civil lawsuits could be called extortions. These people have been abused. There were damages. They asked to, hey, pay me for my damages, make me feel better, change my life. I'll sign an NDA and move on. He didn't handle his business. He's sitting in the jail, period.
Do you know who Ebony Electra is?
Yes, I do.
She is, as far as I know, she's a pretty close friend of Kim Porter.
She commented over a month ago. She hasn't said anything yet since. So if she wants to come out and have a conversation with me, they all can talk to me if they want.
But just to be clear, so my audience knows, in July, she said that the book was BS. She said it was a bunch of lies.
Because she doesn't have the flash drive.
What's on the flash drive that would make her feel different?
Tapes.
And you've seen the videos. You've seen the footage.
I can't talk too much about that per my lawyer, but let's just say
I'm not asking what's on. I haven't asked what's on it. I'm just asking, have you seen the footage yourself?
Per my attorney, I'm telling you, I will just say that I have reason to believe that yes, there are real sex tapes on the flash drive.
But you can't say that you've seen a sex tape. By virtue because of your law, you can't say what you Again, a viewer may interpret. Again, I want the viewers to interpret this however they want.
Yeah.
But if here's how a critical viewer may see that.
Mm-hmm.
You've made claims that Diddy had sex with certain people in this book, or the book makes the claim, the book that you published makes the claim that Diddy had sex with certain people. You're saying that the reason we can trust the book is because you saw the footage that corroborates the claim. When I ask you directly, have you seen the footage of the sex? You say, I can't answer that, which makes sense. But one could think that you're saying you can't say that because then they could really sue you, right? Like for example, if you wrote a book that said, I saw Marc, kill 5 puppies, and I know I ain't killed no puppy, and then you put out the book and say, well, Marc killed 5 puppies, and they say, well, how do you know? He said, well, I've seen enough footage to verify it. Did you see Marc kill puppies? I can't say that. Well, of course, because if you say you saw me kill the puppies on the page, God forbid nobody kill puppies. Animal abuse is awful. I'm just using an example here. If you were to say that, then I could easily sue you because I know you didn't see me kill the puppies. I didn't do it. So it seems like this is a way to the critical audience member or skeptical audience member, it may seem like you're throwing rocks and hiding your hands because you're effectively saying we can trust this book even though it's dubious because you've seen something that proves it to you. But then you won't tell us directly if you saw something.
I'm saying they're two separate things. I don't need to see something to know the book or think the book is real. I don't have to see a video of it. What I'm saying is now you separate the book from the tapes. Okay. So if I'm on the book, right? If I'm on the book and I think it's real, I'm going to publish it. Now, if I
but you said the criterion for thinking that it was real was your investigation.
Yes, but I didn't see the tapes very early on. It took a long time for me to even possibly see the tapes.
So before you possibly saw the tapes, you did an investigation. Just use the Al B. Shore example again. So you're not saying you saw a tape of Al B. Shore and Diddy having sex.
Correct.
You're saying, right. Or let me ask you a direct question. Did you see a tape of Al B. Shore and Diddy having sex?
It'd be like saying, did I see O.J. Simpson murder Ron and Nicole? No, I didn't. Do I believe he? Yes. I haven't seen it, so it doesn't matter to me. I can't go on that. These tapes okay, wait, hold on, time out. Well, we're talking, these tapes you're talking about right now are highly explosive. You're asking me to talk about something that there's potential legal implications in a federal case. So your audience, I love them. Okay. But just, this isn't my first rodeo. No comment.
Okay. So,
yeah. I'm saying that cool to you. I'm not yelling at you. You're
no. Trust me, I don't feel the way at all. So then I guess the question goes back to just, again, using the Al B. Shore example. If you never saw Diddy and Al B. Shore have sex, and Al B. Shore saying we didn't have sex, and no one has told, and you're saying you've seen some evidence to think that Al B. Shore might be gay, which I don't know is true or not true. I don't know anything about Al B. Shore's sex life or sexual identity or desires or what. I don't care. My question then becomes, how do you feel comfortable trusting that to be true? And then when you say, well, I don't, ultimately it seems that the escape hatch is, well, I don't have to know. Kim said it. But it takes us in a circle because we have no proof that Kim said it if none of this other stuff is true.
And that's why I talk about in the Rolling Stone article, I had to kind of put this out and take this leap of faith, right? If some of it's not true, and even if it comes back and somebody gets a smoking gun, that it's all a fraud and Kim never wrote it, okay, then I got duped. It's not on me.
Well, you got duped, but you made a lot of money. But you make a lot of money getting duped. This is the #1 book on Amazon. How many books have you sold so far?
I won't say the number.
I mean, that's not a secret, right? We book this book scan, there's Amazon.
I don't think you can see it, no.
Okay.
Let me say it to you this way. So we've been up for 2 weeks. Okay. It was pretty quiet at first. I did a couple interviews. They didn't come out yet. We had like 50 copies sold. The article in the Daily Mail came out. A little buzz came out, a little here. Then the bloggers got it. Those people drive a lot of audience. Let's just say from there, the book exploded. It sells by the hour. It changes every hour. I get the text every 3 hours. It changes.
I think it's safe to say that in the last 2 weeks, you've sold more than 25,000 books. Is that safe to say?
I don't go by the units. I would say we're going to do 1 million gross in a month almost.
Right. So you're going to gross,
and that's a lot for an independently published book.
It's a lot for any book.
Amazon. That's why we're #1, because no one's ever done this like this before.
Right. And I mean, with all due respect, this book has lots of typos, lots of mistakes.
Oh
It's
gosh,
not.
what did I? Okay, I gotta check. Send me the typos, guys.
It's. I'm not saying that to be pedantic or
No, I
nitpicky. I'm saying that to say you didn't spend a lot of money making the book, clearly. So if you're selling the book at this, I mean, you're saying you're gross, but like you're clearing a whole lot on this book. So when somebody says, well, why would he lie or why would he believe it? It's well, because you've made $1 million in a month off of it.
And that's 1 month. So what happens when next month Nancy Grace just waved my book around on her show for 30 minutes? So tomorrow when I look at the numbers, it's going to be more. And when the trial comes, there it comes again. You know, look, let me say this real quick. I'm the voice of the voiceless. I will fight for Kim Porter. I'm never taking this book down.
How much of this money are you going to donate to Kim Porter or her family or her children?
First of all, I don't own the entire thing. I have partners. It's not just me.
How much are you all going to donate?
How much
How much are you going to donate of you and your partners? How much of any of you going to donate from this? To
a foundation of battered women?
Or to Kim or to her family? I mean, this is for Kim and Kim's voice. I mean, the whole premise here is that Kim doesn't die. She sells this book, and it's her liberation because she's no longer financially bound or tied.
I have no problem doing a deal with the family and the estate. Of course, absolutely.
But as of now, you don't have one in place.
No.
Do you have any plans as of now to give any of this money to them?
Right now, we're fielding offers to turn this into a movie. So
right, but that's a different mode of questioning. I'm asking if this book is to give a voice to the voiceless and to do something for Kim who couldn't do it for herself. How much of this money? Why don't you have any plan to give any to Kim?
You mean to her children?
Yeah, to her estate.
Well, I mean, they can call me and they can have a conversation with me.
Right, but again, if the book is for her, it seems like that's something you should be calling them.
Well, I'm risking my tush on this too. Let's remember that this isn't just. And look, I'll say this to you like this way, okay? And I'm not going to make this a black-white thing. They're calling me these names and culture vulture, and they're saying all this stuff.
Vulture.
Okay, well, I'll say this: if Kim Porter wanted this to come out, then why didn't these people do it before me?
Well, I think the rejoinder might be she didn't want it to come out, and you're doing it anyway because you're making $1 million.
No. She wanted this to come out. It says it on the first page. I wrote on that one of Kim Porter's final wishes was for this memoir diary to be made public.
No, I know you say it. I disagree with it, even though you said it on the page. You're saying it now. I'm disagreeing. The fact that it's printed doesn't make it more true. It just means you wrote what you think on the page. But I think part of the culture vulture piece of this is when people bought the book, they thought they were getting a book that was being put up by Jamal Milwood. You don't look like a Jamal Milwood. So you could have. And here's the thing, Chris Todd.
Let's talk about that. Let's bring. Yeah,
we're about to. And to be clear, for those who don't know, Jamal Milwood is the name assigned to Tupac in the Tupac conspiracy theory that Tupac is alive and living somewhere under an assumed name. The assumed name that Tupac is living under would be Jamal Milwood. But I guess the thing to me, Chris, is I'll be honest with you. I mean, you have all these books behind you. How many of them have pen names on them?
All of them.
What are the pen names?
Chris Todd.
Okay, that's not a pen name. That's your name. Okay.
That's my pen name.
Okay, technically your name is what, Todd?
Well, I don't want to say it on here. I'd rather not say my last name.
Okay, fair enough. I know it, but I won't say it. It's in the chat already.
Yeah,
my point is,
I know people can find it out. It's not hard to find it.
You move through the world as Chris Todd. When you go on TV, you're Chris Todd. When you do interviews, you're Chris Todd. When you do investigations, you're Chris Todd. But when you put out this book, you weren't Chris Todd. You became Jamal Milwood. Do you see how somebody might think that putting out a book about a black woman and black culture, right? And pretending to be a black author or using a black author's name that you've never used before in your life.
Right. Okay,
let's do a little parasitic.
Yeah. Oh, whoa, put that comment back up. Go ahead.
I said parasite. I wanted to be clear. I was going to say vulture again. Yeah, I was going to say vulture, but then I saw AK say parasite, and so I wanted to put it up to. I like to cite my sources. You know what I mean? I wouldn't think I want Jack AK's word, but the point here is, I mean, come on, Jamal Milwood.
Okay,
Have you ever used a black pen name before in your life?
You're gonna love this. Look, you're a smart guy, so let's put on the thinking cap. Let's get cerebral. You ready?
I've been cerebral this whole interview. Go ahead.
Good. Okay. It wasn't my decision to put Jamal T. Milwood. Okay. The sources asked me to put Jamal T. Milwood in honor of Tupac Shakur to stick it to Sean Combs. Okay. So when Sean Combs gets the book in jail and it gets delivered to him, they wanted him to read it and go, who the F is Jamal Milwood? And a little light bulb's going to go off in his head. Gotcha. So watch, hold on. So if all my clients are deceased and the book says Jamal Milwood and Kimberly Porter, they're both deceased, right? And what's the
I'm sorry, can you lift that book up again? Can you lift that book up again? No, just lift that up again. Lift that book up again. It looks like you erased Jamal Millwood on that book.
Erase it. This is the proof. I gave my other ones away. This is I when I showed reporters, I showed them. I didn't.
But why do you take Jamal Millwood? It's clearly scratched off. Why?
When I showed reporters, I gave them this copy so they wouldn't see who the author was at first.
Why? I'm asking why.
Because I shopped it to reporters first.
And why didn't you want Jamal Millwood on that?
Because I didn't want them to know too much. If you do an investigation, you don't show all your cards.
Okay.
Anyway,
okay, continue.
All right. Anyway, my point is, they wanted this, and I loved it. I thought I loved Tupac. I was all for it. I was like, wow, that's really crazy. They're like, put Jamal Millwood. I put the T there for Tupac in case there was another Jamal Millwood somewhere. I said Jamal T. Millwood, and that's why we say Kimberly A. Porter, because there's probably a lot of Kim Porters in the world. So both names have an initial. So when Diddy reads the book, or any of his people, or the Tupac people, the fans, they go, Tupac's back. And because remember in that book talks about Diddy and Jimmy Henchman talking about getting rid of him at Quad Studios.
Right.
Look, I could have put, but let me say this too. This is important. When I was publishing it and took the leap of faith on like September 5th, it takes a day to publish. I didn't know Diddy was going to be arrested. If I waited about 2 weeks and he got arrested, I might have put Chris Todd there. It was too late. I could change it if I really wanted to. Right now, I'm going to let it ride. So this is for Tupac Shakur and Kimberly A. Porter.
I find that hard to believe, but
Okay.
But it's not for me to believe it.
I understand.
Do you think calling it Jamal Millwood makes people more likely to buy it?
Like I said, it wasn't my idea. I honored the sources.
I got you. My question is a different one though. My question is, do you think that name makes people more likely to buy it?
Not really. I thought the name was kind of goofy, to be honest. Jamal. How many people name their kids Jamal? Jamal is an older name.
Are you serious?
Well, I don't know. Look, I don't know. Do you think
you're not making any friends right now, my friend? Lots of people name their kid Jamal. Jamal's one of the most famous names in the world.
This is what the bloggers said. Well, let me ask you. What do you think when you hear Jamal Millwood? Do you think the name?
I think of most black people I went to school with. I think the people I went to college with. I think about the students that I teach. I think it's a very common, ordinary, beautiful black name. Yeah.
Okay, then fair enough. I mean, like I said, it's not my decision.
Yeah. Okay. So at the end of the day, you're making millions off of this book.
I wouldn't say making millions, but
that's okay. You've made over $1 million. And
gross.
You said
we have a government called the IRS.
Yeah, I'm saying what you've made. I'm not saying what I'm not saying what you keep.
Yeah,
I'm saying what you've made. You've made over $1 million, and you will likely make more based on what you said. When
projected $5 million,
that would be millions. Okay, so you're going to make millions
plus a movie deal and a TV deal and an unscripted and a scripted, $20 million.
Wow.
Because the reason I'm saying that, I don't mean to interrupt you. You say what you're going to say. I'll say why I'm saying that.
No, because I'm wrapping this up. I want you to get the final word. Go ahead.
Hollywood does it all the time, so I'm no different than anybody else. and my partners have the right to do business too. So if they want to make a movie about Kim Porter and it helps bring justice, we're going to make a movie. And if we're going to do it unscripted, we're going to do it unscripted. We're not asking for people's permission. This is for Kim. Okay. I work for my victims or my clients. So if that's what they want, and this benefits the
if
public,
Diddy offered, you said you would make 20 off this. If Diddy offered you 30 million to kill this and silence it and throw it away, would you have done it?
at the time, like we did offer it to him.
My question is, if he offered you 30 million to not put it out and to destroy it, would you have?
Possibly.
So then how is this? Then this isn't for Kim. This is for money.
I said possibly. I'd have to.
Yeah, it's possible. But if it's for Kim, then it wouldn't be possibly. It would be
yeah, I'd have to make that decision with the sources. It wouldn't be my own decision. There's
Right.
other people involved. I would run it by them. If they said, okay, we're going to donate millions of dollars to battered women, we're going to create a scholarship and a fund for Kim in her name for people to go to college. What if they said that? I'm not fully in control of this.
Right.
That's what
The point was you made it seem as if you were honoring Kim's last wish to have this published, but it sounds like if the money's right, you'd be fine with Kim's last wish of it being published not come out. On top of that,
I think
it's
there's a great
questionable if Kim actually wrote this. I've read every word of this book. I've checked it against the facts that I know to be true.
You'd have to ask yourself, when Hollywood makes a movie about a murder, are they doing it for the entertainment and to make money, or are they doing it for the victims? So it's a gray area, right?
No, it's not a gray area. Here's why it's not a gray area, Chris, or Jamal. Because the Hollywood doesn't pretend to be doing it for the victim. They're doing it for money through the mechanism of entertainment, and they don't pretend to be doing otherwise.
Okay.
That's
not what they always say, though. They talk about bringing justice for victims in true crime. They talk about justice.
But we're talking about Hollywood. If you're talking about the true crime
they're
genre,
both the same. There's no
they're not. Just hear me out. What I'm saying is, you mentioned Hollywood. I was speaking very specifically about Hollywood. But if you mean the true crime genre of stuff, and look, I've worked in that area. I'm executive producer of Celebrity Crime Files right now on TV One. And so the question is, can we tell the truth about a story and do right by people? And obviously, it's a business, and they want to make money. I get it. I hear all of that. I think the difference here is there's no mention here that this book is about anything but justice, right? It's framed as Kim's lost words, that Kim had a voice in the world and she had something to say. She had this awful situation and she wanted to tell her truth. And the world was blocking it, and you're here to give it to us as to honor her last voice. This is presented as a piece of journalism designed to honor a victim. But when we scratch underneath the surface, we don't know if this honors the victim. We don't know if this is the victim. And to your point, based on your mechanisms, and including the fact that you, from what I can hear, paid for it, not to mention
I didn't say I paid for it.
I know, that's why I didn't say you said it. I said my understanding of what you said. You refused to say that you didn't pay for it, and then you proceeded to explain why it's okay to pay for it. So even if you, so I'm just saying we would reasonably think that you paid for it, but regardless, the point is that this is not journalism.
Well, let me say this. Well, okay, when you talk about what journalism is, when someone writes a book and they quote and they talk as characters, it's not journalism. This is a novel. It's not a diary written on a hand scratched pad. That would be a news story. She wrote a novel. So
So a novel is fiction.
Not necessarily, no.
How is it not? Just explain it to me.
When they do movies like Goodfellas that are based on the book, is that fiction?
Yes.
Goodfellas is not completely fiction. It's a true story.
A novel is fiction, is what I'm saying. That was the question. This is novel.
Well, whatever you want to call the label. Okay, she tells a story.
Well, no, I was going by the label that you use, not my label. I don't have any particular investment in
they don't have to be like so black and white. And maybe that's fitting here. It's not. It's both, Mark.
Right, but my point. You're making my point now. you're saying it's not all fact. But
No,
it's presented
no, I'm not saying that. I'm saying.
You said it's a novel. You say it's not black and white. It's both. It's fact and fiction, correct?
Yeah, we could say like a
Okay,
roman.
I'm going to pause you. It's fact and fiction. I just previously said it's not all fact, and you said no. If it's fact and fiction, then it's not all fact. Some of this is fiction. So if some of this is fiction, then it's not journalism. If some of this is fiction, then it's not 100% Kim's words. If some of this is fiction, then we can't trust this as a piece of record about who and what she was and what she said, because part of this, at least part of this, is fiction. What percentage of this is fiction?
I'm not saying it's fiction. Okay.
You're saying it's
also,
part fact and part fiction.
Hold on.
What are you talking about? You're gaslighting me now.
I'm not gaslighting.
Chris, did you not say that it's not all fact or all fiction, that it's both?
I wasn't talking about this specific book. You're talking about like
movies
and TV and Hollywood and
let me ask you a specific question. What percentage of this is fact?
Okay, can I say something first?
I'd like you to answer that question for my audience. What percentage of this do you believe is fact?
90%.
Okay, so by your own estimation, even if I trust you, which I don't, you're saying that 10% of this is not true.
You asked me.
That's journalism.
Hold on. You asked me. So if I say I think 10%, I'll give you the 10%.
Yes, I'm saying
okay,
10%.
sure.
Yes.
I'll give you 10%.
Yes, and I'm saying you're conservatively, generously by saying 10% of this ain't true, and I'm saying
I don't even know if that's true, Mark. I don't know if there is any fiction in here. I don't.
Right.
What if it's all
but
real?
that means you also don't know if there's any fact in here.
No, I know a lot of this is fact,
but not all of it, which is why it's not journalism.
Okay, but time out. So is Kim Porter a journalist?
No.
Okay. She wrote a book, right, about her life. So she's not a journalist.
No, I'm not conceding that as a fact. I don't know if Kim Porter wrote a book. I know that somebody published a book under the name of Jamal and say that it's Kim's words. I have no idea if this is Kim's words. I have absolutely
okay,
no
but you're
idea
bringing up, you're saying
words.
Journalism. So stick with that. Is Kim a journalist? Yes or no?
And I'm saying no.
No, she's not a journalist. Right.
Right.
So she told a story, right?
Right.
That we don't know. I'll play that. We both don't know if it's fully true, half true,
or true at all.
Fake. Sure. Okay. But whether it's true crime, whether it's scripted in Hollywood, like you said, you work on a show. I think a lot of these things blur the lines. They have the Aaron Hernandez series right now. A lot of that's true. Some of it, they maybe took some liberties. It's a true story. It's a scripted series. So which is it? It's both. So it's the same thing with this. This can be both. That's my point.
Right. And my point is, if Kim were alive and put this out and said, I exaggerated a story here, I may have mixed up something, I may have forgot something, I'd say fine. It still wouldn't be journalism. But the difference is you're presenting yourself to the world. As you started this interview off, right? I'm an investigator. I'm a journalist. So we are being asked to trust you. We are being encouraged to believe every dubious claim made in this book based on the premise that an investigative journalist confirmed it. But when we scratch underneath the surface, the investigative journalist is like, I don't know if it's true either. Could be, could be not. Who's to say? Right? It's like, mister. It's like, so at that point, I'm saying that it's misrepresenting to the public what's been done here. This is not Kim's words preserved and vetted and proven by an investigative journalist. This feels like a cash grab and a money grab. And I need to be very clear to the public. And this is the last thing I'll say, that I really have to go, is that this is not to defend Diddy. I have no doubt that anything in this book that Diddy is accused of doing, he's capable of doing. I have no doubt that he did some of this. And if he didn't do this, he did something just like it with somebody else. And I'm not talking about his sexuality. I don't care about his sexuality. I'm talking about violence. I'm talking about harm. I'm talking about abuse. I'm talking about exploitation. I'm talking about all of those things, right? Mm-hmm. Diddy is a monster. I don't give a damn about Diddy. What I care about is Kim's words, Kim's life, and Kim's legacy being exploited, being abused, being misrepresented, and frankly, being robbed. And I have no reason to believe, based on this interview and based on reading this book, that that's not what you're doing. I'll give you the last word.
Okay. If you want to think of me as a conduit, then maybe that's something you need to think of me as a conduit.
The first syllable, yes. Definitely, you definitely put the con in conduit.
I challenge you to a debate on O.J. Simpson, and I would like to debate you on O.J. Simpson because I like you, and I like that you're coming at me, but I challenge you to a debate on the story of O.J. Simpson and his murder accomplice. Secondly, I am a conduit for Kim Porter. If you don't think some of the book is true, cool. Then everybody can figure it out and help us fully investigate it. I cannot investigate every letter of that book, okay? So in between fiction, nonfiction, what she wrote, I believe she wanted this to come forward. I was asked to do it. If I make money from it, I'm not the first person that made money from a book or a movie. I appreciate you having me on today.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate you, man.
Thank you.
I appreciate your time. Not what you've done here, but I appreciate your time. Thank you. Everybody, that was Chris Todd. You know, he wrote a book, or he published a book called Kim's Lost Words. It's up to you all to make your own determinations about whether or not you believe it or not. It's not my it's not my job to say whether someone's lying or not. I'm clearly saying he's lying, but you know, I hope that you all watch the interview for yourselves and make your own determinations, irrespective of what I think. But at some point, you just can't let people play in your face, man. You can't just let people say, he'll be like, the book is black. The book cover is black. And I'll be like, okay, so if the book cover is black, I didn't say the book cover is black. Like, what? You just said that. I need the rewind button. It's like Rick James on Chappelle back in the day. But I think it's important. Again, Diddy is human garbage. I have no defense of Diddy. I have no love for Diddy. I want Diddy to be held accountable in the most just way possible for whatever harm he's caused in the world. But that's not an excuse to exploit Kim and her legacy and her life and her family. Because come on, man, this is for Kim. You giving any money to Kim? Nah. Have you thought about it? If they ask me for something, I might throw them some. What? Who names their kid Jamal? Have you ever met a black person? Are you kidding me? Are you serious? That one, I was like, let me chill because I don't. Anyway, Brianna Patton asks, who is profiting from this memoir? We got the answer to that. Thank you, Julie Mumar, which is a great name. Oh, my God. Thanks for everything. To Wong Fu. What the hell is a G word? Yeah. The answer to your question here, did he contact Al B. Shore and others mentioned the memoir as a PI? Wouldn't that be, he didn't contact Al B. Shore. Al B. Shore is hot as a 6-shooter. In fact, I'm going to send this interview to Al as soon as I get off this call. Like literally, I need him to see this. Bullet said, I have a very true, very important story, and the only man who can tell it with dignity and honor. Tell Chris Todd, meet me on the 5th floor of the parking garage on the corner of W and Tupac. I saw this during the interview and laughed out loud. I just didn't want to cough. I didn't want to think I was being ridiculous or being too silly. I don't use that language, Bullet, but yeah, I get the vibes. Yo, again, same thing on that Jamal tip. Yeah, that Tupac's back was like, I know what you were trying to do, homeboy. That didn't, nah, I didn't. That did. Yeah. I appreciate y'all. Yeah, homeboy does need a publicist. If he does not have one, he needs to get one. If he has one, they're going to be very angry when they watch this interview. Or maybe he doesn't care. Maybe he's just like, look, people are dumb. People are going to buy it. I mean, he's made $1 million off of a book that he. I mean, I wasn't trying to clown. I don't like to clown people's productions, but I mean, come on, this book is. I mean, it's a pamphlet. I won't show the cover anymore, but it's a pamphlet. I mean, like when I do this, I've been through 6 chapters. Not even exaggerating. It's a 59-page book. There's 14 chapters. They just stealing money out here. Yo, exactly. This is some colonizer shit right here, man. And Chris and Jamal. Bullet went in. Look, and here's the thing. I am a journalist. I don't do that at night school. I try to just, be a professor, a scholar, ask questions. But like at some point, y'all can't just you're forcing me to interrogate. You're forcing me to ask tough questions. You're forcing me. Like, it's hard. It's literally like talking to your teenager, and then you have teenage kids, which I don't anymore, but I did. And it's like, wait, you came home at what time? Because you were at study hall? Wait, but study hall ended at 6. Oh, but I did. Wait, but you said you were there until 7. It's like that kind of thing. It's like, it's hard to ignore the ridiculous lies. And he's trying to say that people close to Kim wanted him to put this out. Every single person who has spoken about this from Kim's camp or who's a Kim friend said it's a lie. She didn't write a book and she doesn't want it out. And the truth is, there might be a smoking gun. There might be a smoking gun. There might be a smoking gun. Smoking gun showing that this is all bullshit. But he'll make enough money that he won't care. And God forbid he sells it. Dallas's finest Jazz LP said, what's GFY mean? I'm kind of glad I don't know something. GFY is not a racial slur. GFY is just telling someone to self-fornicate. Man, yeah. What a world we live in, man. What a world. Look, y'all, I appreciate y'all riding with me. I appreciate y'all hanging with me for this crazy episode. Before we go, there is one more story that I have to talk about. And it's a story that pains me, to be honest. It's a story that I didn't want to talk about. It's a story that I hoped we wouldn't have to talk about. But here we are. Marcellus he's passed. He was pronounced dead at the Potosi Correctional Center at Mineral Point about 2 hours ago. He was killed by lethal injection by the state, despite being, to me, exonerated by DNA, being factually innocent and legally not guilty. Marcellus has been killed. Marcellus Williams has been killed by the state. I hate when they say he died by lethal injection. He didn't die by lethal injection. He was killed by lethal injection. He was killed by the state. And I want to show you his last. It's on my Instagram. I put it up a few hours ago, but I want to show you his last, the sheet that he fills out. Before he dies. It's his last statement, and I need you to see it. There's an opportunity there to apologize. There's an opportunity to declare one's innocence. There's an opportunity to say and do whatever you want. And he said, Alhamdulillah, right? All praise be to Allah in every situation. This is a man who spent the last day or 2 or 3 or 5 hoping for clemency, hoping for a Supreme Court decision. Supreme Court tonight decided they wouldn't stop the execution. The Missouri Supreme Court said no. The governor said no. And Marcellus Williams is dead. I don't have a lot to say. I said a lot yesterday about this. His death is a moral atrocity. Every time this country, every time the state executes somebody, it is a moral atrocity. This state does not have the moral authority to kill anybody. This wicked state should not be killing anybody. This is a state that rapes and pillages and steals. This is a nation that has taken everything from indigenous people, taken everything from Native Americans, taken everything from our Indian brothers and sisters. This is a nation that exploited the bodies and the life and the labor of African people for hundreds of years, building this nation on slavery. This nation has killed people through medical racism. This nation has deliberately not given people the cures that they deserve. This nation has operated and experimented on the bodies of Black and brown people. This nation has shown at every turn that they don't have any moral authority. How dare we think that we have the decision-making power over who lives and who dies? This nation has killed so many people wrongfully. We've been so sure we were right until we found out we weren't. Go look at the Innocence Project. Just go to any death row and say when people are wrongfully convicted. The death penalty doesn't stop people from killing people. It doesn't do what you think it's going to do. And we get it wrong. And we ain't got the right to be doing it. This is evil. And despite all this evil, Marcellus Williams, he remained hopeful to the end. But he also was at peace with the decision. I can't imagine that level of moral clarity or power or maturity. So I'm sending love and faith, healing to Marcellus Williams's family, to everyone who fought, to everyone who's crying right now, to everyone who's hurt right now. May he rest in power. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make his grave spacious and filled with light. May he have his sins forgiven, and may he be granted the highest place in Jannat al-Firdaus. I pray for him and I pray for his family. But let us not just use this as an opportunity to mourn. Let us use this as an opportunity to grieve and to feel and to fight and to recommit to fighting and struggling so that we produce a world where Marcellus Williams is the last person who dies at the hands of the state. Let's make sure he's the last person who's executed in this way. He deserves so much better than the world gave him. And so do all of us. Anyway, family, thank you. Thank you for watching Night School tonight. I appreciate all of you for hanging with me, for sitting through all of this madness, and for continuing to fight the fight for justice, even at moments like this where our hopes are dashed and where we feel like there's just no more fight left to give. Just got to keep going, y'all. Anyway, thank you for watching Night School. I don't feel it's appropriate to ask you for money or donations or anything else after this. I'm just going to say, be good to each other, and I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.